Did Ukraine just commit a war crime by painting landmines to look like logs and dropping them over Russian lines? Well, it's a war crime according to professional screaming idiot Ethan Levin, who made a TikTok video about it where he said,
"Yes, this is a war crime. It's actually 2 war crimes."
Oh, do tell, Ethan. I'm a bit of a war crime expert myself. Hey, before I get started, you know it's a real crime not buying my new novel, The Last Republic. It's an alternate history where Brigham Young founds the nation of Deseret instead of the Utah Territory, and what happens 170 years later when the U.S. invades. Available on Amazon and on Audible if you're a Marine. Now, this video appeared on TikTok and Instagram, and it didn't seem to get much general traction, but one of my viewers sent it to me. The main thing is I couldn't believe people were still simping for Russia. I mean, that is so 2023. Why don't you make Barbenheimer memes, for Pete's sake? But I took a look at my new friend Ethan, and it kind of looks like this is his jam, right? Simping for Russia. He calls himself an independent journalist, but he obviously doesn't do any research, as we're going to see. And no, using ChatGPT is not research. And his videos are filled with a lot of pro-Russian content. So let's go over this video piece by piece.
To the average person, this looks like just a log. But in Ukraine right now, they are disguising landmines as logs. And they are taking these that look nothing like a lethal weapon, dropping them all in the Russian wilderness. Places where, yeah, soldiers can move around, but most notably, what about the kids and civilians that could just be wandering in the woods?
So right there you have the exact reason for the Ottawa Treaty, which is also known as the Convention on the Prohibition of the Use, Stockpiling, Production, and Transfer of Anti-Personnel Mines and on their Destruction. So we're just going to call it Ottawa Treaty. And this treaty basically bans the use of victim-detonated anti-personnel landmines. Anti-tank landmines go after vehicles, anti-personnel landmines go after people. These victim-detonated anti-personnel mines are the famous landmines where the guy's walking and he steps on and it explodes, blows off a leg or whatever. But there are a couple of things to note. The actual Ottawa Treaty does not ban anti-tank landmines. I'm not saying anti-tank landmines are less dangerous anti-personnel landmines, but anti-tank landmines take a significant amount of pressure to detonate, way more than anti-personnel landmines, because anti-tank landmines are designed to blow up big, heavy tanks or maybe even vehicles. You don't want a person to accidentally detonate it. You want it to be detonated by a tank. And I believe the mines that are shown in this video are actually anti-tank landmines, but we're going to get to that. One more thing about the Ottawa Treaty, it really only binds people who agree to it. So if you didn't sign the Ottawa Treaty, you are not beholden to the Ottawa Treaty. The U.S., Ukraine, and Russia never signed the Ottawa Treaty, although in practice, the U.S. only uses landmines in the DMZ with North Korea. So that scene in Bad Boys 2 is completely inaccurate. All the landmines at Guantanamo Bay were removed in 1999, I believe. Now, some countries have recognized Russia as such a threat that they withdrew from the Ottawa Treaty, specifically Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, and Poland. I mean, because they know they're next, right? So let's keep going.
Number 1, a landmine is supposed to be properly marked.
Boy, wait until this guy finds out that landmines are supposed to be buried in the ground. But his reasoning is kind of funny here.
So that a civilian doesn't bump the way.
Now, I guarantee you that if you marked a landmine so that a civilian could see it, a soldier could see it too. I mean, the mental gymnastics this guy is using is on par with what the New York Jets fans do every September. But let's keep going here.
But most of the time, yes, they do hide them.
Yes, they do. That's the purpose of a freaking landmine there, Ethan.
But they're in a war zone, so a child isn't going to run and try to pick one up.
Well, they might. But one thing here is that over time, civilians learn basic survival skills. And it's kind of morbid to talk about this, but civilians learn fast because the people who don't learn get killed. If you take a look at the siege of Sarajevo as an example, people learned what foods were edible, what to touch, what not to touch, what routes through the city were safe. It sucks to have to live like that. And quite a few people die so others can learn this by trial and error. But these survival skills do get disseminated. And if drones are genuinely dropping these log-looking landmines, they are most likely short-range drones. So, in fact, I found a picture of one of these delivery drones right here. And these things are not going all the way to Moscow. These things are maybe going 10 kilometers into the forward line of troops and then flying back. So it would be unlikely that any Russian citizens would ever encounter these munitions because these kinds of Class 1 drones really only have the range to mine the front lines.
Because with these drones, they're just dropping them randomly.
Now, if I were using one of these things, I would not just drop these logs pell-mell in the woods randomly. That's just stupid. Remember, these munitions have a dollar value. They took time to construct. You have to take time out to fly a drone mission there. And when that drone is flying that landmine out, it can't be used for something else. So if you're going to take the risk on losing a drone, you want to place these mines on routes where you know Russian soldiers travel. So it's my estimation that these particular mines will be placed on paths or roads with frequent Russian vehicle traffic. But this guy also says,
Number one, a landmine is supposed to be properly marked.
so yes and no. Now, I think what this guy did was he just Googled the question, is marking the location of a landmine a war crime? And that's kind of where his research stopped, because I basically got the same answer when I typed this into Google. Look, man, if you want to be a journalist, you got to do more research than that. All right? AI is not journalism. But the key item here is recording. The U.S. uses DD Form 3007 to record the location of a hasty minefield and DA Form 1355 for a deliberate minefield. And we do that for a few reasons. We record the location of the minefields internally, but we don't put little flags on them to let the enemy know where they are. Although sometimes we actually do create decoy minefields to make the enemy think there's a minefield there so they don't try to cross it. But there's a few reasons why we record these minefields internally. First, landmines have a dollar value. You can actually recover them, you can disarm them, you can move them someplace else. Second, you want to know where their minefields are in general so you can demine the area after a conflict. And third, you might have to move through that minefield when you counterattack, or when you get relieved by another unit, you need to tell that unit, hey, there's a hasty minefield out in front of us, here's the location of all the mines. So you need to know the general location of that field. Now, if you're using something like FastCam, a family of scatterable mines, which kind of toss anti-tank landmines out of the side of a truck or helicopter, you would mark the general area of the minefield. You know, don't go there. So are the Ukrainians marking the territory of every mine they land? Logically, they should, at least in their own records, because you don't want to mine the same place twice. And remember, every time you send a drone out, you're at risk being detected. Russia has some great electronic warfare tech to track radio transmissions back to the drone operator. So every drone mission is a risk in itself. You don't want to send a drone out to a location that's already been mined. It's a waste of resources, duplication of efforts, and you're risking that drone, you're risking that operator. Also, when a brigade rotates back to the rear for rest and refit, they have to hand off the location of all their mines, like I just said. So you don't want to duplicate work. You don't want that new brigade to go and discover, oh crap, there's already a minefield here. We just wasted 12 hours getting these mines ready. Now, Ukraine also probably has ISR, or intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance assets, periodically fly over these mined areas to see if Russia's still using those roads or paths, and to see if there's any blown up trucks, any battle damage. So odds are Ukraine is recording the location of these mines. They're just not telling the Russians, because why would they? It's kind of one of the purposes of a minefield here. Let's keep going.
Ukraine dropping logs deep into Russia.
Again, these mines aren't going deep into Russia. The size of the drone just isn't large enough to do that. So what Ukraine is essentially doing is dropping them on their own occupied territory. Unless, in this guy's twisted mind, Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson are already Russian territory, as Putin has claimed. Yeah, there are some people who think like that.
These could haunt children in Russia for years to come.
Well, they could certainly haunt children in Ukraine for years to come. But that country, it's going to take 10, 20, 30 years to demine that whole country. I mean, France is still finding unexploded ordnance from World War I. And this article is from 2014. All right, so what kind of mines are these things? Well, I am not an EOD Hurt Locker guy, but I know a little bit, and I have a subscription to CatUXO, which is crucial if you want to learn about landmines. If you look at how these mines are long and thin, I believe they are Russian PTM-1S mines. These are pressure-sensitive, scatterable mines, usually scattered from BM-21, BM-27. So when I scrolled down a little bit on CatUXO, I found this dude who claimed that they were Russian PTM-1S mines. Okay, might be on the right track here. And he said the Russians were using heat-shrinking plastic bottles around the mine to stabilize it as it's dropped from a drone. So these might not be Ukrainian munitions at all. These might be camouflaged Russian munitions. If that's the case, Ethan, you look pretty stupid right now. I noticed Ethan's little video had a tag right here, Contano2 on TikTok. This led me to a guy named Joey Contano on TikTok who had a video where he claims these were Ukrainian mines. So I don't know what the truth is here. So what it looks like here is that our boy Ethan didn't do any research at all. He just ripped off Joey Contano's content, didn't even try to remove the guy's watermark, put his own spin on it, and did it for pro-Russian clicks, I guess. So, look, at this point, I don't know what is true. I don't know if these are Russian munitions or whether these are Ukrainian munitions. But Ethan, if these really are Russian drone drop concealable mines, it really makes you look like a bigger idiot than I first thought. So, yes, it does seem like these are PTM-1S mines, concealed as logs being dropped by somebody in the Ukraine theater of war, but I don't know who's doing it. And if you are curious about landmines, I have an entire video about how landmines work. That'll be available at the end of this video. You can also grab my landmine marker shirt from Bunker Branding and get a signed copy of The Last Republic there as well. Thank you guys so much for watching.
Wow, this girl from Watertown sure is cool. Hey kid, what's going on?
Think tank!
You know, a girl from Watertown is kind of like riding a moped. It's lots of fun till your friends see you on one. What's really cool is a t-shirt or hoodie from Bunker Branding. Wow, Intel Life, Control-C, Control-V, that's exactly what we do! And Bunker Branding has all sorts of cool gear. Intel Life, Aerosol, Live, Laugh, Launch for Destroyer, Trident, HIMARS, and Patriot. Think outside the bomb. Drone Suite Drone, Department of the Boat People, Landmines, and even the tow missile. It would behoove you to grab one today. Girls from Watertown aren't cool, so wear your Bunker Branding gear. Now I know. And knowing's half the battle. Hey babe, you wanna dance? Bunker